I had this presentation that I give that's about 30 minutes, and I was asked to do a 15-minute presentation. I'm like, well, I can carve it down and make that happen. As I started to do that, I'm like, this just isn't gonna work. So Saturday, I scrapped the whole idea and said it doesn't really fit with the event anyway. So we're gonna maybe go on a little journey together. I'm kind of reflecting on maybe the last 6 months of life and kind of what's changed. If you think about, November, when a lot of us learned about, ChatGPT. So there's gonna be 3 takeaways at the end of this presentation, and my hope is that it's gonna kind of reframe your world. It's a big statement, and depending on where you are and what you're thinking about, it may work or may not. So let's see where this goes. So I'm gonna, any musicians here? All right, a few. So I remember growing up playing drums, take my record player, play a Rush song and trying to play to it. What's he playing? I can't really tell. And then you finally get it figured out and you want to play with it and you're like, but his drumming is in the background. I just want to hear mine. There's an app today that you can download that's free. You can upload an MP3. You can turn off all the music except for the drums. And you can play along with it, and you're the drummer on the studio record. Before you know how to play it, you can turn everything else down and just listen to the drum parts. That wasn't possible a year ago. So many transitions have happened that enable that type of thing. Other picture here. This slide deck is like reversed. That's weird. I'm not sure what happened. We live about 80 miles away. My wife and I were driven here by our Tesla. And you probably read reviews, oh my God, it's horrible and this and that. I've been in the beta program for about 1.5 years, and you kind of gauge your experience driving your car by a number of things when you're going through a beta. One is it doing what it's supposed to do? Is it gonna crash and drive off the road? Do you have to give it a little nudge? If it seems a little unconfident, step on the gas. And then there's the other gauge, which is your wife screaming is one level, and your wife covering her eyes and screaming. So over time, it's gotten better, and I'll say that the drive 80 miles of back roads and highways and interstate and driving through Seattle, we had 2 little nudges that I had to give. No interventions. However, we did have 1 little scream and 1 eye cover scream, but the car drove through that. That's the world that we live in today. So hit the next slide. AI is real, and AI is right now. Haven't introduced myself yet. Oh, go back, sorry. The clicker doesn't reach. Yeah, this is all backwards, all right. My name is Tom Ingoglia, I work for US Foods, and my day job, I guess you would say, I'm the Director of Enterprise Architecture, heard that. We've recently completely rewritten our eCommerce application, and we launched it back in September to a small group. About 2.5 years into that, and along with that journey, we've really kind of transformed our organization. If you get a chance to read Brian Browning's mock paper, that's kind of the model that we operate today. I would say if you're thinking about kind of going off on this AI journey, talking about things that Megan's doing, this is operating in that mock world is really table stakes. You really have to be able to get your data, get it moving, get it into the ML world. That's where my presentation picks up. We're assuming you're in the ML world. So, can I hit the next slide here? All right. So you're hearing ML, you're hearing, you may have heard of DL, LLM. So just to level set on a couple terms, Megan spent her time talking about ML, machine learning. You're building a model, you're looking at your data, you're trying to find interesting things inside of that data. Another way to think about AI is from a DL perspective, or deep learning. Easiest way to explain that, it's kind of like a brain. You take all this data, you take your ML data and put everything in there. that would be more how this application that can separate the music works, right? That's more how a self-driving car works. Then you get into LLM as a kind of a deviation from that, large language model. You've heard of ChatGPT, that's based on large language model. And some really interesting things there. And then AGI, or artificial general intelligence, I don't know that we've really defined it yet, if anybody has a definition of what that is, but I think the way I define it is when a computer or system can answer questions that we don't already know the answer to, right? It's looking at everything we have, and it's not like, oh, I put all these data points together. It's coming up with novel ideas that we would not have been able to get to from a human perspective. I don't know when that's gonna happen, but feels like we're kind of on that journey to get there soon. Next slide. You've all been to Amazon, and this is, I did this search for just TVs with the intent of pointing out only on the top right that I searched for TVs and I got 1,000 back. I only want to buy one TV, but there's 1,000. How do I find what I want in that 1,000? What kind of machine learning do they have in the background? I bought a ton of stuff on Amazon the past couple of years, and what are they showing me? Well, then I got to looking at it a little bit deeper. I'm like, is this really the best experience that's out there that the biggest retailer online is delivering? Like, no, I want the dumb TVs, not the smart TVs. I really care about buying the worst product, so I'm gonna select 1 star only, right? No, and I wanna pay the most, so I'm gonna click that max button down in the bottom there. How many consider the NBA to be the authority when you're buying TVs? That's right on the top, right? So, all right, maybe you're a basketball fan, but maybe that's not where you're gonna put your first source for buying TVs. And then, of course, sponsored. They're making money before they even sell me anything. How much trust does that build? And then the 2 top products that they show are Amazon products. This is the premier shopping experience that you get online today. Next slide, please. Here's what I want. I want to go to a website and it to say, I know you, I kind of know what you're looking for, I might have a couple questions for you, but I'm gonna make it easy. I'm gonna give you 1 product to buy. And if you want me to explain myself, I'll do that and you could just click the button. I did a search, and you don't have to bother reading it, I'll just give you the headlines, but basically I said I'm in a 15 by 15 room, very minimal information to ChatGPT. And I said, what would you recommend? It gave me a full list of what things I should be considering, and ironically, it picked the TV I ended up buying. I ran that query yesterday, and I bought the TV 6 months ago. Next slide. So the interesting thing about this is when you think of ChatGPT, we're all amazed and we say, wow, it can answer my questions. But that's not the amazing part of it. The amazing part of it is that it understands your question. That's really the trick, right? And just think of using Siri or Alexa, and you say, hope there's none around, and you say it, and you ask it something, and it doesn't give you the answer you want. It didn't understand. Hey, something simple, turn my lights on. I don't know what lights are. Well, yeah, we did that before. So this is kind of a key takeaway in that it understands you, and that's the important thing. That's the interface that we've always had a hard time with computers, right? We have programming languages to try to get the computer to understand us, and we have to type it out in a very meticulous way and debug it, right? We've got keyboards that we've used forever. All these ways of communicating, but for the first time, we can talk to it, and it can understand the question that we're asking, and I think if you use enough, you'll say, it understands me better than most of the people that I'm around. This presentation is really framed a lot around this UX idea, right? So there's a very important distinction when we're thinking about the user experience. Is that big search wall and all of the all of the facets on the side, the way that we operate in the future? Or do we really think about our user experience and we say, we have a new tool that understands the user? Next slide, please. So this is a very, very busy slide, but there's a couple key takeaways that I want to bring to you. So we see the ChatGPT there in the middle, and it has to know information, right? So what does ChatGPT know today? Well, it knows what's out there on the internet. It's stale. It knows what was out there on the internet in 2021. So when it made the TV suggestion, it really did recommend an older model of the TV I had because it was in 2021. But you could pass it all the data that you want. So it could be literally up to speed in a minute if you want. So the top part on the top part is very important. So customer, product data, obviously we need that. Feedback, so how well is the system doing? If we're telling it how well the system is doing, yes, they bought that TV. Yes, this was a good experience. It knows to build from that. But the key part is the one on the left there. And the reason that's the key part is because that's what we've always been missing. So my buying experience when I went to buy a TV, first you call some friends, hey, have you bought a TV in a while, right? And then you're searching online, and you end up spending so many hours to buy a TV, you end up becoming an expert. So if you do the math, maybe you buy a $500 TV, you put 40 hours into it, you paid $4,500 for a TV if you really want to factor in your hours and what else you could have done with your time, right? I don't want to have to be an expert to buy a TV. And then what happens after that? Now you're the expert for all of your friends. Hey, I know you bought a TV. Yeah, I did. How'd it go? Well, it was good, but they delivered the TV and I took it out of the box and there were forklifts had run through it. Couldn't you see that the box was damaged? Well, there's a nice way to fix that problem. You take Fragile stickers and you stick it over the hole after the forklift goes through it, and so you get a surprise. But at any rate, so the expert is the key part to it, right? So how do we take this data and then take expert data, right? So let me give you a little example of expert data. So in the business that we're in at US Foods, we sell products, right? And we would all just think, oh, you need some cooking oil. What does that really mean, right? So I want to deep fry things. Probably 100 oils out there that you could buy. Well, every 30 days, I'm going to get rid of that oil because I've got to clean it out and refresh it. But some oils will go for a month and a half, or even longer. They're more expensive. So you say, well, I could do the math on that. It lasts a month and a half, but you know what? It still doesn't make sense because it still ends up being more expensive. I'm going to buy the cheaper oil. But then, if you're a savvy restaurant operator, you would say, yeah, but if I'm changing it more often, I used to pay someone $3.50 an hour. Now I'm paying $15 an hour. You factor that in. Suddenly, the oil that's more expensive ends up being cheaper for your operation. We have experts that work for our company that help our customers through that. That's the expert that ChatGPT can be. We teach it all of those rules. We send it all of this data, and it can say, I need some frying oil. Well, we know what kind of restaurant you are. We know all these details. This is the one you should buy. They don't have to scroll through our big list of what the right product is. So that's the part that we get. If we can get the experts to say, here's what customers need to know in this oil category, or in this TV category, and we know the ML data that we've been data mining, or if not, we could just ask some questions, right? What are you using it for? Rather than scroll through these, look at how long it lasts. We got this big grid on the bottom with check boxes that show, is this one that, is this one that? You gotta try to figure it out yourself. That world is gone. I don't know how far it is from now when that world is gone, but that world is gone. So ultimately, we want to get to this great customer experience. Some of the ways that you can make this happen is, some of you may not know this because it's brand new, but ChatGPT has the ability to do plugins. There's some great plugins out there. One that I'm showing here, if you're not familiar with Wolfram Alpha, basically it has a language where you could say, I want to figure this out or calculate that out. And you kind of speak to it in a somewhat human language, but it's very well structured. And it will give you answers back, and it'll give you charts and graphs. So if you need to do some comparison, you could literally feed it some data, but it's complicated, and an end user typically wouldn't be able to do that. But ChatGPT now has the ability to take human, turn it into, well, from alpha language, and give you back amazing results. The other thing is plugins. You could build your own plugins that it can go query when it needs to understand something. So if you want to know about this customer, use this plugin. Go find out about this customer to derive what you want to derive. So pretty cool idea. So, but you see up on the top there, step one, unlock your data. That's kind of the other presentation that I was going to deliver, but without getting to that point, without having data freely available and flowing through your organization from those different parts, and the ability to get that and data mine it, you got to get through that step. Is this the second step, or is there 20 steps in this? I think these are baby steps. We could all say we've got an e-commerce site, let's pick a category, see if we could do something interesting with that category. Can we do something interesting with the TV category, right? And say, hey, I've got you remember the old Google feeling lucky? Maybe you can have a feeling lucky that kind of spins off of this to start, right? Baby steps. So that's kind of the idea here. Next slide. So what could this mean? I mean, we've got fire, obviously that was a life changer. The wheel, obviously, vacuum tube through transistor and CPU. We could look at those things and say life would not be the same today without those. I don't know if ChatGPT is that. It could be the pet rock, or it could be the invisible dog. I think we probably got the spidey sense that's not going to be the case, but really the question is, where is ChatGPT and AGI on this time scale? Is it on the bottom? If it's on the bottom with what it's doing right now, we are in for a wild ride here over the next couple years. If it's on the top, it's kind of cool. There probably has to be something else that comes after that. Kind of banking myself a little bit on the bottom, just based on how amazing it is. But I think that's probably for each individual organization to get out there and assess. But I would do it. I would spend some time on it, figure it out, what impact can it have to your organization? Because the comment earlier about this will, this is having a really, really fast impact. You could have lagged behind 5, 6, 7 years on the internet and been okay. Can you lag behind this 5, 6, 7 years? I don't know, probably depends on the business, your competitors, and what they're doing, but certainly worth looking at and making sure that you're thinking about that. With that, takeaways on the left slide. AI is real. Think first principles. Reframe how you think about it. When you're thinking about the user experience, remember you have this expert. You could train this expert. You could give it data. It's going to understand your users, and it's going to give you interesting things back out of it. LLM, AGI will be broadly disruptive. And then, of course, the other little bonus takeaway of our computers now have the ability to understand us. That's it.